Hello and welcome to the Complete Podcast Network. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. So tonight in Miami at the Orange Bowl, uh, Indiana was able to complete their perfect season. They finished 16-0 as they defeated the Miami Hurricanes 27-21. It was a really good game. You know, um, you know, Indiana held on average probably about a 10-point lead for most of the game. It was 10-0 Indiana. Then it was 10-7. Then it was 17-7 after Indiana scored on a blocked punt. Then it was 17-14 Indiana. Then it was 24-14 Indiana. Then it was 24-21 and Indiana kicks the field goal. And when Indiana kicked that field goal to go up 27 to 21, I personally believe that Carson Beck was going to lead the Hurricanes down the field and win the national championship with Miami. It would have been their first since 2001. Instead, he throws an interception there as Miami attempted to try to win the game. And instead, it's Indiana who wins the first national championship in the history of their program. Indiana, what can I say? They had the best team all year. They said perfect season, 16-0. If they had won in commanding fashion tonight, I think they would have been deserving of being ranked up there with the greatest, college football teams. If not the greatest college football teams, because you don't think of them as having that type of talent. Just as far as high end, future NFL players and stuff like that, necessarily, outside of Mendoza. But other type of season like or I should say, for sure, an all-time great season, if nothing else, right? Mendoza, numbers-wise, the stat line, throwing the ball, he wasn't great, but he had that rushing touchdown there to put Indiana back up 10, and that's one of those ones that they're gonna. That's gonna live in what's the in fame. Not infamy, obviously, because it's the greatest play in the history of Indiana football, considering what it meant. But yeah, it's gonna live on in that program. This is a matchup where obviously Indiana was the favorite. They've been so dominant all season. They beat everybody. They beat Ohio State. They beat Oregon. Beat Oregon again in the playoff. They beat beat up on Alabama. But this Miami team kind of mirrors Indiana in terms of their physicality. I think the difference was just that they didn't have as many seasoned players. Of course, much has been made of Indiana and how old their team is. They got a bunch of guys who were fourth and fifth and sixth-year guys who are starters on their team. The average age of their team is 23 years old. And people try to knock them for that. I already said I think that's stupid because, basically, any team in college football has a chance to build the same type of roster. This is one of those situations, I think, where, you'll see more teams try to copy what Indiana just did and try to build, a veteran roster like they just did. Indiana being the first team to take that approach. They just got a national championship out of it. Cursinetti, congratulations. The great thing about a national championship is it lives it lives forever. It's forever. It is forever. It um, if nothing else, I mean, if they don't, and like I said, if teams catch up to what Indiana was doing this year as far as having all these veterans and teams try to copy that, it'll make it harder for Indiana, right, going forward. But it's just like if I mean, I don't think Indiana will continue to be good as long as Cignetti is the head coach there. I don't think they'll continue to be contenders for national championships. But it's like I think of going back to when Cam Newton won at Auburn, right? Gene Chizik. I mean, a few years later, he was out of there, right? But I think it was just a couple of years later he was out of there. But you know that lives on. Uh, Same thing like Eddie O at at LSU. I'm pointing out times where a team won the national championship, but it wasn't a part of like some larger run of excellence. It's like a one-off basically. But even if it's just a one-off, it's still forever. And they got that. They did that. Then as far as Miami goes, they competed. Uh, love Malachi Tony, love Mark Fletcher, Carson Wentz. In the end, man, he needed one more big throw, and he wasn't able to make it on that last play of that interception. Uh, Corner had help over the top, which allowed him to make a play on the ball there, uh, and uh, and that's how the season ended for Miami. Um, I think Miami will be back. They have to get a replacement for back, I suppose. But yeah, um, things are looking up. I mean, Marcus, well, he's done a great job there, and yeah, man. I mean, it was a really good game. Uh, and Miami, they play like they have some respect for themselves, man. And like I said, I thought I thought Carson Beck was gonna drive them down and win the game. But there was also part of me that thought, well, okay, maybe Miami wins. It happens a lot of times where the other team will end on like a season-ending interception or game-ending interception in a time like that, and that's what happened. So yeah, shout out to Indiana, shout out to Miami too, but shout out to Indiana. They were the best team all year, and they won the damn thing. I caught a lot of flack on here for saying that uh, 2013 Florida State wasn't as good as 2001 Miami, 2004 USC, 2019 LSU. Just because when they, in Florida State, they played against Auburn for the national championship, they had to march down the field right there at the end and win the game. After having such a dominant season, they weren't quite able to stick to that. They still won the game. They still went undefeated. They still had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in Jameis Winston. But those other teams, Miami, shutting out or dominating. Was that a shut? I think they did. They shut out Nebraska. I don't remember. It was a dominant performance, though, a dominant win that, put the accent mark on accent mark on their season. USC obviously blowing out Oklahoma 55-19, and then LSU against a very good Clemson team. Uh, was it? I know they won by at least 2 touchdowns. So Clemson was the defending national champion. So yeah, but just as that Florida State's team wasn't quite able to stick the landing against Auburn, this Indiana team though they never trailed tonight, and never trailed, and like I said, they had a 10-point lead for probably most of the game. Um, but Miami stayed right there with them. uh, Indiana would get throw a shot, and Miami would give them right back. But in the end, Indiana was just at least made a couple more plays. You know, that block punt probably was the difference in the game. But in the end, yeah, like I said, that's what I would compare this team to. Uh, I would compare them a little bit favorably, not talent wise, to 2013. Um, Florida State, though, both teams have Heisman Trophy winners that are expected to be the number one overall pick. But I wouldn't say that this team, Miami, Indiana team, like this Indiana team is known for their experience and just how physical and hard they play. Uh, so people say they know other teams play, so I'm not going to get back into that. Whereas Florida State was had more talent as far as NFL talent, future NFL talent, but uh, yeah, I think season wise, as far as if you compare their resumes, pretty similar. Like two teams who were dominant all season, but then had to kind of not so much back and forth for Indiana because I said they never trailed, but they were in a real fight. Compared to uh, Miami, USC, LSU when they won it all. So yeah, I would rank this FSU team a little bit higher than actually that Florida State team because at least they never trailed in the game. But I can't put them up there with those other three all-time teams. They just went 16-0, which is amazing. I mean, season-wise, I mean, it's a phenomenal season. But it just makes you go, well, if they played, and like the thing Indiana has it to their advantage is like I said, their experience, but the fact that they had to run a real fight against Miami, uh, you know, win is a win, they won, but when we're comparing them to the other, when you compare them to the other great teams in history, that's the thing that kind of puts them at a deficit. All right, so yeah, again, congrats to Indiana, but I'm going to switch gears now to the NFL because it was a great Sunday of divisional round. You had uh, the Patriots advancing past the Texans and the Broncos beating the um, Bills in a thriller that led to the firing of Sean McDermott, which I'll talk about in a second. And then you had the NFC. You had the Rams beating the Bears, another thriller. And then you had the Seahawks completely wiping out the 49ers. And, I mean, what can I say? The, uh, the Niners were just too banged up. When I spoke last week, I forgot to consider how many injuries they had. When I said that they were, a team on a mission. Um, and the Seahawks, going to next week, the Seahawks just might have the best overall team because they're the team that probably, of the teams left, uh, they're the team that relies on their quarterback the least. You know, Love Sam Darnold, but he really didn't have to do much on this past weekend. Um, you know, uh, he's just pretty much been like doing, like a game manager. Like last year, the Vikings, he put up better numbers than this year. But perhaps the Vikings relied on him a little bit too much, and then in the playoffs, he didn't play well against the Rams. Uh, the Vikings, perhaps, I guess the Seahawks maybe can run the ball better than that Vikings team could. But that's how they play. They run the ball, they play defense, and they just try to ask Sam not to ruin it. He's been successful at that. Uh, 15-3 on the season. Um, so yeah, they're gonna host the Rams. My gut feel, I mean, like the Rams have been in two tight games. The Seahawks look excellent. My gut tells me the Rams are going to win that game. I mean, Matt Stafford versus Sam Darnold. Again, I love Sam, but I'm just saying, you know. And then over in the AFC, it's going to be the Broncos hosting the Patriots. I really like this. And the Broncos are the number one seed. Bo Nix, of course, broke his ankle at the end of the game there, and he's not going to play. It's going to be Jared Stidham playing for the. Uh, Jared Stidham will be playing for the starting for the Broncos. I mean, that's tough for the Broncos. I wouldn't put it past them to beat the Patriots because the Broncos are at home, but they're obviously going to be very limited. They're going to do the same stuff. And this Patriots team is very good. Bo Nix is, I'm sorry, Drake May is fantastic. I don't know if he's played that well through the first two playoff games, numbers wise. But he's just a really talented and really good young quarterback. Uh, I would say the Patriots will be the favorites there with the Broncos not having their starting quarterback. Um, but you never know what might happen, right? It's just one game, right? Uh, then I wanted to say something about this situation. Number one, with the Texans losing that game and C.J. Stroud throwing 4 interceptions. And I hear people saying that the Texans should not, that they shouldn't, they should think long and hard basically about extending C.J. Stroud. And I said earlier this season I was watching one of the games the Texans were playing before they started, before they ripped off that winning streak. And I was just watching like, my goodness, C.J. Stroud is terrible. I mean, he's just absolutely terrible. But they went on that run. Their defense is so good. They have Woody Marks, the Trojan man, uh, and Stroud. It's kind of like a same situation as with the Seahawks. We have a quarterback who's okay. Like Marty Jones talks about, it's okay to have a mid quarterback. It's okay to have a quarterback who's pretty good. If the rest of your team is really good. And that's what the Texans are. It's like that's what the Seahawks are. The difference is that I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, the Texans, I guess, just relied on C.J. Stroud a little bit too much. His arm. I guess they believe in him more than the Seahawks believe in Sam Darnold. They ended up, hiding now. They should have tried to run the ball more. Probably the Seahawks, though. Kenny Walker, like Woody Marks, Nick Chubb, good players, but I'd probably say Kenny Walker especially at this point in Nick Chubb's career. Kenny Walker probably the better. And Jackson Charbonnet, he tore his ACL, so that's another thing to look at. But I already picked the Rams regardless. But yeah, I think for sure that where I look at it, C.J. Stroud has won a playoff game in each of his first 3 seasons. So and the Jaguars, I mean, if they extended Trevor Lawrence, why would the Texans not extend C.J. Stroud? That doesn't make any sense, because obviously what he is good enough for them to make the playoffs every year and win at least one playoff game. So why would you move off a quarterback like that? You just obviously, he's in a situation where it's actually probably good for the Texans. They won't have to, if he had, balled out, they would have to make him the highest paid quarterback. Instead, they can just pay him, scale. Uh, and maybe he'll continue to get better, and then you'll have like a good, great value contract. Uh, Because the thing about it is that, I mean, it's Charlie Weiss once said there are 15 quarterbacks in the league, in the world, who can play that position well at the NFL level. And so, if you have a quarterback who's good enough to get you to the playoffs every year and win a playoff game, why would you move off that quarterback unless you're getting someone who's spectacular? Let's say the Ravens say, hey, we'll give you Lamar Jackson, and we'll take C.J. Stroud, but you got to give us a pick to go along with it. That's something to think about. But outside of that, you know, shoot, you got to give C.J. Stroud his money and make him your quarterback of the your franchise quarterback, which he is right now. Um, because it's similar to a situation like because after the Bills they fired Sean McDermott, right? And Sean McDermott went 98-50 as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. That's a 71%, 71%. Well, no, was that like a 67% um, winning percentage? You know, um, he did a really good job there, uh, and they just weren't able to. I mean, just can't seem to be able to get over the hump. Um, but I mean, honestly, it's like when you have a coach quarterback tandem that works as well as that, to where they went 98-50 together. I don't know if I mess with that unless I'm sure that the head coach I'm bringing in. I mean, you can't be. And the thing about it is, you can't be sure of that. I mean, how many quarterbacks in the history of the NFL? It's like, so Mike McCarthy, he's on the coaching carousel. He's looking for a job after taking a year off. Um, it's like, yeah, Mike McCarthy, he's been fantastic. Okay, I guess you say Mike, because Mike McCarthy, he was already not only did he have success in in Green Bay winning the Super Bowl, but he also uh, was with the Cowboys. When they were healthy, they were usually pretty good. So he's had success in two different places. Now, but it's like even then, it's still not a guarantee that he'll have success in the third. It's not many coaches who have success in multiple places. You see coaches do well in one place and then go to the next place and it doesn't work out. But yeah, I think if it's going to be anybody, it should be Mike McCarthy. Looks like Belichick, is set there in North Carolina. Of course, at his age, it's like probably not the guy that you want. John Harbaugh has already taken the job um, in Baltimore. I'm sorry, not in Baltimore. Fired in Baltimore, taking the job but the Giants. Probably wonder if he wish he could take that back. Couldn't do that. I know the Bills' job is open. Um, Mike Tomlin already said looks like he's gonna take a year off, or else I would say that he would, because Mike Tomlin, he doesn't, his teams don't, his teams have a floor. He hasn't had a quarterback like Josh Allen since Roethlisberger was playing. So that would raise the ceiling of what you usually get from what you see from Mike Tomlin in the last 5 years or so. So that would actually be something to consider. But my point is that when you have a coach who's already been successful, and then you decide to fire him, if they bring in some unknown coach, I mean, like a coach who's never been a head coach before, that's a big risk they're taking by firing Sean McDermott. Because unlike um, Harbaugh, who I mean, they got the 8 wins this year. If Lamar hadn't gotten hurt, that's probably still a 10, 11 win team. Um, and then you go in Pittsburgh. They won the division at 10-7, but that's the problem. People are like, he goes 9-8 or 10-7 every year, and then doesn't win a playoff game. The only problem in Buffalo has just been that they haven't won a Super Bowl yet. Haven't made a Super Bowl yet. They're winning 11, 12 games every single year. So Like I said, they took a big risk, but I hope that the next coach that they get is can have the same type of success year in and year out that Sean McDermott had there. Uh, Maybe now McDermott goes to. I would like to try to get that boss. I think he still wants to coach. I'd try to get that Baltimore job if I was him. You know. Okay. All right. So before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out. So after I was done recording, I realized that I didn't really say anything about. I mentioned that the Bears lost to the Rams, but I forgot to talk about just Caleb Williams and Chicago and Ben Johnson and like what this uh, loss reminded me of for them. What it reminded me of was uh, the Chiefs in 2018 when they lost to the Patriots, um, and basically it was a similar type situation because the Patriots obviously had won up to that point. They had won 5 Super Bowls um, with Brady and Belichick. Now the Rams with McVay and Stafford only won one, so that's a Super Bowl winning tandem. And the way I look at it is that Caleb Williams is so talented. I mean, his arm talent is amazing. His escapability is amazing. And Patrick Mahomes, I think we would all agree he's the most talented quarterback we've seen. And we see what he's done, uh, in his career already. I guess I don't know if he's 30 years old now. And we saw what happened. What he did after that defeat. That was his first postseason against the Patriots. Um, and we saw what happened since then. He's won 3 Super Bowls. Won the Super Bowl the year after that. He's won 3. Lost a couple. Now tore his ACL. Honestly, but obviously best quarterback since Brady, all time great. You know, it's like Jack Nicklaus. Tom Brady's Jack Nicklaus. Patrick Mahomes is he's Tiger Woods, right? Um, and I think Caleb Williams with his talent, with Ben Johnson as his head coach. I think the Bears are going places. I think that you know, this was his he stubbed his toe. I mean, obviously uh, the play. I mean, that fourth down play was absolutely bonkers, man. Out of all the plays he's made, that are just crazy. That was the best one yet. Um, but I just think he has unreal talent. Um, I like what Colin Cowherd said that he's like a kid who can't tie his shoes and his desk is messy, but he'll be playing Carnegie Hall by the time he's 11 years old. He's a real talent out there, and I think it'll come up. Like I said, he only completed 58% of his passes this year, which is bad. But it'll come at a time where his because he was on even at USC, it was known as like a savant, like this great football brain under behind center. And I just think that once everything starts to click, it's gonna be his raw talent is so amazing, and he's already doing stuff that pretty much nobody else can do. And once he puts it all together, the future very bright. They got the quarterback and the coach, and I think this was their, like I said, this was his, Mahomes losing to Brady in 2018, and the, it'll We're just seeing the beginning of the Caleb Williams story. Uh, so yeah, the Bears, Caleb Williams and the Bears, they will be back. Okay, I'm done for real this time. Goodbye.